So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I'm slightly under the weather presenter here today, but we keep going, and we keep plowing through. And I just wanted to come and basically welcome you to Groundhog Day, because it looks like Aston for the football club have been linked once again with Weston McKennie, Juventus and United States midfielder. I wanted to pop on here because he's somebody we spoke about last summer. He's somebody we spoke about I would say the January beforehand, when we were talking about Bentancur and we were talking about Basuma and we were talking about all these midfielders that potentially could come in for Aston Villa under Steven Gerrard. And we're linked with him again. DiMarzio has linked him in the press today. He's somebody that was initially linked also earlier on in the transfer window. He was linked with Aston Villa in a potential. It was a crazy rumor. It was like Weston McKennie plus X amount of money for Emiliano Martinez, which I think was always going to be respectfully denied. But I think that Aston Villa, like it's one of those rumors that won't go away. As we know, we do have a recruitment team. Weston McKennie is a good player. Unai Emery has come in. He's worked under directors of football previously. Before, obviously, at Sevilla, he would have worked under Monchi. While he will have more of a say, I would imagine, under transfers at Aston Villa, I think that there is a consensus, I suppose, around Europe that Weston McKennie is quite a fine footballer. Sometimes his statistics don't match up to what I suppose the consensus is, and I'm going to show you some statistics on him over the last 365 days. He has had one of his poorer seasons. I think that's why one of his poorer seasons statistically, and I think that's one of the reasons why Juventus may be open to moving on for him. But as I said, this is Groundhog Day. We've seen this link before. This is the third or fourth link that we've had from with regards to Weston McKennie. So let's take a little look at him. We won't spend too long here because I think most people have done deep dives into him over the last. I think I've done one on this channel as well. I know I lost some videos on YouTube. I know I lost some podcasts on the audio podcast, but I'm almost certain I did one of these already on Weston McKennie when we were linked with Rodrigo Bentancur back in the early days of Steven Gerrard's tenure as well. But let's take a look at him. Let's see what his statistics look like, because I want to talk about him from the point of view of I suppose the player. And look, sometimes I suppose that I talk an awful lot about statistics, and sorry, I'm just going to load up my this is awful podcasting. I'm just going to load up my PDF here so that you guys can see this. I do apologize. Okay, here we are. So I'm just going to add it to the stream now. So as I say, yes, Weston McKennie from Juventus via Dallas's academy, and Schalke as well is who he has played for in the Bundesliga. Why won't my slides move on? Yes, now they will. They'll move on now. So just want to take a look at him. And, I talk an awful lot about statistical analysis of players. And what happens is, I hope people don't just think that anyone really that would do scouting or that would be involved in scouting. And look, I'm not a scout, don't get me wrong. Jesus, before anyone thinks that's where I'm going now with this one. But if you want to get a true look at any player, or you want to get a true feel for a player, you need to watch them, in open play as well, because sometimes the statistics don't match the output that player would have, or the impact that player would have on the field. Obviously, certain styles of play and certain managerial styles will affect players negatively as opposed to positively. Then it would affect other players, maybe when new managers come in or they move another team. And I'll give you a point in case. John McGinn this season, I'm looking to see for a sample set, maybe of about 10 games under Unai Emery. And it's just unfortunate that he's been injured recently. But that I'm looking for, that's 10-game sample set. So I'm going to take a 10-game sample set, the last 10 games of Steven Gerrard's tenure and the first 10 games of Unai Emery's tenure, the change in formation, the change in role for John McGinn, and see what and see what the differences are, and maybe just try and highlight them. I don't know if there are differences. The on-field play looks an awful lot better, but let's see how it shapes up statistically. And that's something that I want to make known, I suppose, really about Weston McKennie. We can see here he's 6 foot and 1/2 of an inch. He's right-footed, and he's 24 years of age. He can play a central midfielder or that wide midfielder position, not a winger, a wide midfielder. And why do I make that I suppose distinction there when I'm mentioning that? Because I feel that this guy could come in and play that 4-2-2-2 Unai Emery formation. He could drop into a 3 in midfield. He could make it tight in central midfield. He's 6 foot, an awful lot of industry, and he's running. He's American. He's going to be he's very fit. You see him, he gets around the field, and he could drop into that 3 if we do need to defend on that right hand side, or he can also go forward, I suppose, on the right hand side as well. And that's something I'm going to show in a moment. See his heat map there. It is right side dominant, but also he does play within within the center of the field. Excuse me if I cough on this podcast. I am a small bit under the weather at the moment. But what we can see as well there from his heat map is he does pop up in the box. And bear that in mind as well, where I think he could benefit from the 4-2-2-2 formation that Unai Emery plays. Now, looking at his stats, realistically speaking, they're nothing to write home about. He's like he's a Jacob Ramsey without the defensive attributes. That's over the last 365 days, what he's played at Juventus. He's played 21 games, I think, started 15 games over the last 365 days. Could be that might just be last season. That's just from memory at the moment. But he's not been a regular starter at Juventus. Juventus obviously have a nice little carousel in midfield that they can turn to. But he hasn't had a massive run of it in midfield or with Juventus over the last year or so. I'm just going to check up those statistics there once more. Yeah, it was last season he had 21 games, 15 starts. This season, 11 games, 9 starts, and total he's had about 2,000 minutes in the league over the last 2 years. But we can see statistics here. You look at his passing statistics, you go, "Pooh, I want to stay. I don't want anything to do with that." You can see them there in the bottom 12, 36, 13%, 11%, 32%, 9%. Doesn't look really good from the passing statistics that we see there. When you watch him play the game, it is a different story. Sometimes statistics can open your eyes. Sometimes they can close your eyes. You don't have to be biased either way with regards to watching a player play and also the statistics, but sometimes the marriage of the two will help you to discern what, I suppose, where they can fit in within your team. Position statistics there as well. Doesn't receive an awful lot of passes. He's not a workhorse. He's a workhorse in his movement, in his industry, and getting around the field, and positionally, he's very, very good. He's not a workhorse, as in they don't feed him the ball like we would feed Boubacar Kamara. Juventus don't feed Weston McKennie. He's not somebody who needs to be fed the ball. He's a space stuffer. He is he's a tactics guy essentially. He's going to come in. He's going to play that position really well for you on that wide right or in that right hand position. So as I say, he's naturally right-footed. He's a utility man across the middle of that midfield for Juventus. He's got unbelievable stamina. When you watch him play, just even turn on a YouTube video. I don't usually recommend that, but you just see him. He's runs around everywhere. He's got great stamina, consistently presses in midfield. I am so disappointed that FBref no longer have pressures and successful pressure statistics. I'd like to see see what these guys are, because they can really change the complexion, specifically when we look at the defensive side of things. He doesn't dive into a tackle, as we can see there. He doesn't make a whole pile of tackles, but he gets blocks in, gets decent amount of interceptions in, and he doesn't commit that many fouls throughout the course of 90 minutes. But he possesses other type of abilities as well. He's very fast. His ability to dribble at the ball at pace, albeit that he doesn't dribble an awful lot, he is quite successful when he's got the ball at his feet and dribbling with the ball. He ghosts into the box. That's something that I want to see as well from our midfielders. Something I've talked about recently. I talked about previously under Steven Gerrard, getting midfielders into the box, but getting them in there at the right time. We've seen a good bit of it for Aston Villa since Unai Emery has come in. We saw it when Buendia scored. We saw it when We saw it when Douglas Luiz scored at the weekend, even just against Spurs. Those midfielders being able to run past our strikers, get into the box and score. Do we think Weston McKennie can do it? Because when we look at these statistics here, I'm looking at it going, oh, this isn't anything really to write home about. But let me show you the next slide, because let's take a little look at his shooting statistics. This guy is up there with one of the most clinical midfielders in all of Europe's top 5 leagues, based on statistics. And when you see him, he scores, when he gets the ball or when he takes shots, he's quite adept at scoring. So he's not very wasteful. What we can see here is that the one thing I want to bring your attention to is average shot distance. Very last statistics I have there under the shooting stats, 13.4 meters out from goal. So he takes most of his shots in the box. I don't want somebody being wasteful, taking the shots from 20 yards out. This guy gets in the box, he slots that ball away. Goals per shot, 0.17. He's up there in the top 92% of all midfielders in the top 5 leagues in Europe. Shots taken, shots on target, 33%. Shots on target, he has 0.43 shots on target per game, but he takes 1.3 shots per 90 minutes. And look, his statistics from a shooting point of view are pretty good. So, things that don't show up on a numbers board from the statistics that I can get my hands on are things like distance covered, pressures, RIP, loved that statistic, but it's no longer on FBref. Pressures, successful pressures, they don't show up. I can guarantee you, and I don't have these to hand, so I can't guarantee you, I retract that statement. I would be interested to see them because I would think that those statistics would rank very, very highly. Industry, effort, and ability. This guy has it when you watch it in the field, albeit that he's not a workhorse. His passing statistics are low because he doesn't have that many progressive passes, because he doesn't make that many passing attempts. He hasn't got the high progressive pass distance because he doesn't make that many passing attempts. Ipso facto for the shot creating actions, goal creating actions. If he isn't one of these people, it's a metronome that consistently passing the ball in midfield, and he's got a low pass attempts number, that's going to affect his overall passing statistics. So when we look at his pass completion rate, he's up there nearly at 80%. I think that could be a small bit better. That's one I will kind of hammer him for a small bit and say I would like to see that up around 83, 84%. But the rest of them there, just showing you statistics sometimes can be affected, and potentially, for somebody like Weston McKennie, can make him look worse than he actually is. So that's going to do it. Actually, just before we finish up, excuse me. He's played 11,484 minutes, 182 appearances, 124 starts. He's only 24 years of age. That is impressive. That is impressive. He was born in 1998. He scored 18 goals over the course of his career, 10 assists, broken down by clubs. He's 91 appearances for both Schalke and Juventus, 5 goals and 6 assists for Schalke, 13 goals and 4 assists for Juventus in 3 seasons. So the guy is coming into his prime. He's coming into he's been getting better year on year. And look, as I say, if he ended up at Aston Villa, I think that we would see somebody that would outperform the statistics you can see there. But I thought he was an interesting study. The statistics sometimes don't show you exactly what the player is, so it's important to watch him and look at the numbers as well. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much. Weston McKennie, who knows? It's Groundhog Day, but let's all celebrate it together. And we will be back with more transfer news over the course of this transfer window. So stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.